Today, the Justice Department is set to begin turning over documents from the so-called Epstein files to Congress. But does that guarantee the Republican leaders in the House will be fully transparent about the files? House Oversight Chair and fellow Kentucky Republican James Comer tried to reassure his colleagues yesterday.
We're going to review and we'll work as quickly as we can. This is sensitive information. We want to make sure we don't do anything to harm or jeopardize any victims that were involved in this. But we're going to be transparent. We're doing what we said we would do. We're getting the documents, and I believe the White House will work with us.
My smart reporters are back here. Kristen, what are you hearing from your White House sources about all this now?
Yeah, so one of the things that we had heard was that, remember, we were reporting that there was this audio of the Ghislaine Maxwell and Todd Blanche interview with a transcript that they were talking about releasing. This is when they were trying to get ahead of this. They had been on the defensive about the Epstein case for weeks and could just not get around it. So they were looking for ways to say, look, we're being transparent, we might release this. Since then, they have backed away from it because America has backed away from it. And I will tell you, part of this was a CNN segment that was done on how the search for the Epstein files had dipped down, that we did. That was circulating among White House aides and staffers. And they decided, the White House as a whole, that maybe this wasn't the right time to be putting stuff out there. Now that still, everything is still on the table as potential to get out there. But it just goes to show you how much calculus is in all of this. They are thinking about every single thing. And when it comes to Comer and the Oversight Committee, he says, I hope the White House will work with us. We know that Comer is in constant contact with the White House. In fact, the White House is who told me that Comer was issuing a subpoena the next day before Comer announced it.
Wow.
So they are working in lockstep because Comer is a huge ally of President Trump's and always has been.
So, yes, I would argue that the American people writ large, they were not chomping at the bit for the Epstein files to begin with. It's a very specific subset, a subset of the population who consume media, in which the president and even more so his allies, who are now at the highest levels of government, were spewing conspiracy theories about what Epstein did or didn't do. And that is still definitely the point of view of people who are on Capitol Hill. And so I'm not sure that they're going to let this go. I'll just give you one example. I spoke with Tim Burchett, who's on the Oversight Committee, earlier this week on the show.
It disgusts me, really, because you've got people whose lives have been ruined, and they will never, ever regain a sense of community because of these dirtbags. And I would hope that we could punish them as quickly as possible and get to the bottom of it.
It disgusts you that Trump's Justice Department isn't releasing it? What disgusts you?
No, ma'am. Well, we didn't under Joe Biden either. He had it for 4 years, and that's why I really don't think there's much about Trump in there, because I figured President Biden would have released it as well.
Still, he says he wants to see it and he wants it released.
And so the question is, does the Oversight Committee process pass the smell test? Not just for reporters, not just for the Democrats who will, fight for against the Republican majority, no doubt, over what do we make public and how do we do it. But Comer's subpoenas in this case did not include Donald Trump or Melania Trump or anybody at Mar-a-Lago, people who would know this. It was mostly Trump critics who he subpoenaed. We'll see where it goes from here. But you mentioned that subset. Donald Trump has had a problem. Republicans have had a problem in elections which Donald Trump is not on the ballot. I gave you the 2018 midterms, which brought Nancy Pelosi into the speakership. That is the question for next year. Will the Republicans, who have an even smaller majority heading into next year than they did heading into 2018, be able to keep it? If Trump voters stay home because they are mad at him or mad at Republicans or mad about anything, mad about the weather, then that increases the Democratic chances. And this is an issue that matters passionately to them. And they think, it's really interesting, most Trump voters do not criticize him. A lot of them are criticizing him about this, not just his people, him. They say, he promised us this, we want to see it.
And to their credit, most of them say this is because it's about real people. And I want to give an example of that. This is Amanda Roberts, who's the sister-in-law of the late Virginia Giuffre, who was an Epstein victim.
We're very wary that this may be just another move of the Department of Justice, right, where they're saying they're going to do one thing, but then their actions are showing a completely different thing. And so to kind of leak these documents where people are implicated that are heavily, redacted, one time at another, that's not really full transparency.
Elise?
Yeah, I mean, this is about real people. There's over 1,000 victims of child sexual abuse, and sometimes that gets lost in the narrative. And I think that's what we're hearing the families of the victims say more and more, that the longer this takes to get out to the American public, the longer these folks are really re-victimized. And so we've heard the Department of Justice say that it's going to take a long time to redact all of these documents, that victim information is so intertwined with the investigation that they have to release these in tranches. So yes, we're going to see some documents today, but this is probably going to be over the course of several weeks, if not months. And what about the victims? That's several weeks and months that they need to continue to be in the headlines.
I think often about the movie Up. Really great animated film. I believe it's from Pixar. And there's a dog in it where whatever he's focused on, if somebody says squirrel, he immediately shifts his attention away and completely loses focus on whatever that is. I feel like this entire process from the Trump administration is just saying squirrel over and over again, like, oh, we're going to go and see if we can get grand jury testimony released. We know that's not actually going to happen. We're going to turn over a bunch of stuff to the Oversight Committee. We know they're on our side, and there's probably, I think the underlying rationale may be because there isn't what supporters think is there that actually exists. And this is very complicated because of victims, because of redactions. But it just feels like we're going to be playing that game of squirrel for a long time. It's a great movie.
Good analogy.